The island looked lifeless, just black sand, smoke, and the endless roar of the Pacific. Yet beneath that surface waited one of the most intricate defenses ever built. In February 1945, the U.S. Marines landed on Iwo Jima, expecting resistance. What they found was an underground world of tunnels, bunkers, and fire that would change warfare itself. This is the story of how the battle for a volcanic rock forced an army of engineers, tacticians, and ordinary soldiers to embrace one of the most feared weapons ever carried by man, the flamethrower, and how that fire would turn the tide of the Pacific War. Iwo Jima was only 8 square miles, small enough to walk across in an afternoon, but its position made it priceless. Halfway between the Mariana Islands and Japan, it sat directly beneath the flight path of B-29 bombers. To the U.S. Air Force, it was the perfect emergency landing strip. To Japan, it was the shield before the homeland. Months before the invasion, Japanese General Tadamichi Kuribayashi ordered something unprecedented. No frontal assaults, no banzai charges. Instead, his troops would disappear into the island itself. They excavated 11 miles of tunnels, hollowed out command posts, and reinforced hundreds of pillboxes with steel and concrete. From the air, the island looked empty. Underground, it was alive with soldiers, ammunition, and determination. When American reconnaissance reported little visible activity, planners believed the bombardment would flatten everything. They fired for days, naval guns, rockets, and high-altitude bombs, until the island vanished under clouds of dust. Yet when the Marines landed on February 19th, the silence felt wrong. And then the volcano spoke. From hidden apertures, Japanese guns opened up. Mortars, machine guns, and artillery erupted from invisible mouths. The beach turned into a furnace of metal. Within minutes, the Marines realized that no amount of surface fire had touched the real defenses. The enemy wasn't on Iwo Jima, they were inside it. Typical tactics collapsed instantly. There were no clear objectives, no trenches to overrun. Every cave, every mound of ash could hide a fortress. Marines advancing a few yards found themselves attacked from behind by enemies emerging from unseen tunnels. The island itself became the weapon. Black sand that swallowed tank treads, jagged rocks that shredded boots, sulfur fumes that burned lungs. Radios failed in the dense haze. Units mixed together. The war map meant nothing. Commanders faced a question no manual had answered. How do you fight an opponent you cannot see? Grenades cleared one bunker only for defenders to reappear minutes later through underground corridors. Explosives demolished a position, yet the same guns resumed fire from another hidden angle. Traditional firepower, rifles, artillery, even tanks, couldn't reach men sealed in volcanic stone. Something else was needed, something that could reach into the darkness and stay there. Flamethrowers had existed since World War I, but few soldiers trusted them. They were heavy, dangerous, and brutally short-lived. Yet on Iwo Jima, the Marines discovered that fire could do what explosives could not. It could fill a space. The M2 flamethrower weighed roughly 70 pounds when full. 2 cylindrical fuel tanks and a nitrogen propellant strapped across the back, feeding a hose to a wand-like nozzle. A small spark ignited the fuel, sending a jet of flame 30 yards forward for about 10 seconds. 10 seconds, then empty. To operate it required both strength and calm under impossible pressure. The moment the nozzle lit, every defender targeted the operator first. A single shot through the tank could disable the system or worse. Most men carrying it expected not to return. When directed into a cave entrance, the flame consumed the oxygen inside, forcing defenders to abandon their positions or collapse from lack of air. Pillboxes once considered indestructible fell silent in seconds. The Marines began pairing riflemen with flamethrower operators, one covering, one burning, advancing yard by yard through a labyrinth of rock. It was gruesome, exhausting work, but tactically decisive. For the first time, American forces could neutralize tunnel networks without demolishing entire hillsides. Each successful strike revealed another chamber, another hidden tunnel, and slowly, methodically, the perimeter of resistance began to shrink. Behind the scenes, engineers adapted the weapon daily. Standard gasoline burned too quickly, so field technicians thickened it with diesel and napalm compounds, creating a gel that clung to surfaces. They modified igniters for reliability in the island's constant moisture. Some crews welded protective shields around fuel lines to reduce the risk of catastrophic rupture. The flamethrower became not just a weapon, but a system. Portable, brutal, and indispensable. Infantry tactics changed to accommodate it, suppressing fire to protect operators, hand signals to coordinate bursts, and specialized units trained solely for bunker reduction. Yet commanders knew the cost. Casualty rates among flame units were staggering, some estimates as high as 90%. They were essential and expendable at the same time. Each operator carried two burdens: the physical weight of 70 pounds of fuel and the moral weight of what that weapon did. Veterans later recalled that even when victorious, they felt uneasy. The flamethrower didn't simply defeat an enemy, it erased them. That reality left scars that no metal could heal. To reduce those losses, the Marines and Seabees improvised a mechanical alternative. Engineers modified the M4 Sherman tank, replacing its main gun with a high-capacity flame projector. The result was the M4A3R3, known informally as the Flame Sherman. Each tank carried nearly 300 gallons of fuel and could fire multiple bursts reaching almost 100 yards, 3 times the range of a backpack unit. Its armor protected crews from small arms fire, allowing them to approach cave mouths directly. Operating in pairs with standard Shermans, the flame tanks cleared areas that infantry alone could never reach. Marines advanced behind them, using the temporary quiet to secure ground before defenders could regroup. The psychological effect was immediate. Positions that had resisted artillery for days surrendered when confronted by rolling walls of fire. Even so, danger never vanished. The volcanic soil clogged treads and left tanks exposed. Japanese engineers planted mines and staged suicide charges to disable them. Crews worked in suffocating heat, knowing that one direct hit could turn their vehicle into a furnace. But tactically, the Flame Shermans worked. Combined with relentless infantry pressure, they shattered the tunnel complex piece by piece. What had seemed impregnable began to crumble. Among those fighting that month was a quiet Marine corporal from West Virginia named Herschel "Woody" Williams. On February 23rd, the same day the flag rose on Mount Suribachi, Williams faced an assignment few believed survivable: eliminate a cluster of reinforced pillboxes blocking his company's advance. With 4 riflemen providing cover, he crawled across open ash carrying his flamethrower. 2 of his guards were killed within minutes. Williams kept moving, hugging the ground, choosing each moment carefully. At one bunker, he spotted a vent slit barely wide enough for the nozzle. He pushed it through and fired. The explosion shook the hill. Then he moved to the next. For more than 4 hours, Williams alternated between assault and resupply, dragging new tanks forward each time his 10 seconds of fuel ran dry. By dusk, 7 enemy positions lay silent. His actions opened the route for an entire battalion. Williams received the Medal of Honor for that day, the only flamethrower operator of the war to do so. He lived to 98, often saying, "The heroes are the ones who never came home." To him, survival was not triumph, but responsibility. When the island finally fell after 36 days, nearly all Japanese defenders were dead or missing. The Marines had lost over 20,000 killed or wounded. Iwo Jima became both victory and warning, proof of what determination and fortification could cost. For those who carried the flame, the war didn't end when the shooting stopped. Many returned home unable to speak of what they'd seen. Psychologists later called it moral injury, the lasting conflict between duty and conscience. They had used a weapon that saved lives by ending stalemates, but haunted them for how it did so. Military archives show that of the 335 flamethrower operators deployed on Iwo Jima, only 18 were uninjured when the campaign ended. Some refused further assignments, others re-enlisted in different roles. The Corps quietly shifted toward mechanized flame units to spare men that burden. By the late 1960s, new doctrines and international conventions began to question the role of incendiary systems in modern conflict. Officially, flamethrowers were retired from U.S. service in the 1970s, replaced by precision explosives and thermobaric devices that achieved similar tactical effects without exposing operators to such danger. But their legacy persisted in engineering lessons, in tactics, and in ethics. The flamethrower had proven that even the most fortified defenses could be breached through creativity and resolve. It had also revealed the psychological limits of warfare, the point where necessity meets conscience. In military academies, Iwo Jima remains a case study in problem-solving under extreme conditions. It shows how innovation arises not from comfort, but from desperation, and how each technological breakthrough carries a human cost. Today, visitors to Iwo Jima, now Ioto, find little trace of the battle beyond memorials and quiet beaches. The tunnels still exist, sealed and silent. The black sand remains as soft as ash, swallowing footsteps the same way it once swallowed men. The story of fire on that island is no longer about destruction. It's about adaptation. It reminds historians and engineers alike that every weapon is a conversation between invention and morality. When engineers thickened gasoline into gel, they weren't chasing horror. They were solving a tactical equation. When soldiers carried 70 pounds of fuel into a volcanic maze, they weren't seeking vengeance. They were seeking survival. The fire that turned the tide burned for only seconds at a time, yet its consequences lasted generations. War is often remembered through numbers, casualties, tonnage, miles gained, but behind those figures are decisions made by individuals under pressure. The flamethrower at Iwo Jima was not merely a tool of violence. It was the outcome of countless choices, of chemists refining mixtures, of commanders weighing lives, of Marines who believed that one more burst of flame might save their comrades. When the smoke cleared, Iwo Jima became a symbol, not just of victory, but of the thin line between innovation and devastation. The men who carried fire on their backs forced the world to confront that line. And in doing so, they changed how nations think about power, technology, and the limits of war itself. Because in the end, the story of Iwo Jima isn't just about an island. It's about what humanity is willing to invent when every other option has failed.